Welcome to Nailed It, a podcast featuring business tips from industry leaders, presented by Clever Punch. Here's your host, Jade Flogerzi.
On today's episode of Nailed It, we have Haley Flanagan, owner of Haley Matchett Design. Haley is a holistic designer, artist, and entrepreneur based in Denver, Colorado. She specializes in creating sustainable homes that beautifully blend human health with the natural environment. Her innovative design approach fuses biophilic principles, which we will get into, with minimalist aesthetics, promoting indoor-outdoor living and showcasing natural elements as artistic focal points. With a solid foundation in digital art, project management, she ensures a research-based and ethically sound approach to design. So join us as we explore how Haley Matchett Design creates soulful, healing living spaces that prioritize sustainability and the well-being of our planet for future generations. Welcome to the show, Haley.
Thanks, Jade. Happy to be here.
So what inspired you to pursue a career in holistic design?
Yeah, so I started out in digital marketing and kind of was led into that as the most creative side of business. And just after about not even a year of working in my full-time job as a media strategist for an agency, it was also the heat of the pandemic. So I started just really reflecting on where I wanted the trajectory of my career to go and felt like I wanted to make a difference a bit more in my day-to-day work. And that led me into interiors. And then kind of through that specifically felt a little bit just generally speaking, things were a little bit surface level, let's just say, and felt like I needed to have a little bit more of a purpose driven behind it, and have now positioned that into holistic design, supporting people with all areas of healthy living inside of their home.
So cool. Does this avenue of the industry have anything to do with your own journey with health as well?
Yes, yeah, for sure. So I thankfully haven't had to deal with anything too elaborate, but I have been struggling with an autoimmune imbalance for pretty much the last decade or so. Gone through the whole Western medicine route, functional medicine route, and have just really found success in taking a more natural approach to healing. This has also come through in just connections there to mental health as well. And so overall, while it hasn't been maybe the most dramatic of health issues that I've had to deal with, still have had symptoms that have been negatively impacted by my environment, and definitely is a part of why I chose to pursue this for sure.
It's amazing not only to know firsthand doing the research because it applies to your circumstances, but also having the empathy. I think a lot of times people go through similar circumstances and they don't have that empathy. They have a lot of like, it's in your head or you're being crazy. And so for you to offer that to clients that you work with, I'm sure they're very appreciative. I mentioned in the intro, Biophilic Design. This is a new term for me and probably for our listeners too. Tell us more what that's about.
Yeah, so biophilia directly translates as a word to love of life, and in a general kind of philosophical term refers to the affinity that we as humans all have this innate tendency to align with nature and the natural world. So we are human animals after all, is what I try to remind people. This, in terms of design, can be implemented and look like large architectural focal points of really incorporating nature from outdoors and indoors, whether it's large natural lights, live edge tables, or furniture items, incorporating courtyards and atriums and gardens into the actual plot of, or the site that you're building or designing on. Bio-based materials, so the actual ingredients going into what is being applied into a home in terms of interior finishes, exterior finishes. It can expand to even biomimicry, so using in design inspired by nature. So like think of like honeycombs, spirals, or waves, or things like that to kind of use that conceptually as your starting point for design, as well as just incorporating, again, everything to be as aligned with nature as possible. So the reason why I chose to really design with biophilia in mind is it improves your mood, decreases stress, and even has been proven to reduce recovery times, like on a physical level. One thing that I found that was really interesting too, just in relation to more mental health, was the Aarhus University in Denmark did a study of all of the green spaces in a certain mile radius, over 1 million homes of Danes, and just testing how children's impact over time throughout their year of direct access to green space actually has impacted their mental health. So they were able to conclude in the study that children who were surrounded by high amounts of green space in their childhood had up to a 55% lower risk of developing a mental disorder, regardless of risk factors like socioeconomic status, urbanization, or family history of mental health. So overall, I just think it is an area of health that we don't necessarily think about of nature, but really it is part of who we are as humans, again, human animals to realign with that nature. And my job is to bring that into your homes.
Wow. I love that statistic about the Danes. The Danes know what they're doing. And I'm into it because we're heading into hygge season right now. And so I'm going for everything. Like I'm just drawn to things that are cozy and natural. I love learning about what biophilia is and how that's really a core tenet into what you do with your design. Is sustainability part of your design practice as well? And if so, how do you integrate that into your design process?
Yeah, so the core principle that I work off of throughout the design process is health for all. And what that really means is I prioritize health for our clients, so the homeowners, health for the communities involved in the supply chain, health for the planet, and then health for our future generations, basically in that order. So starting out with the health of my clients, like I don't feel like I'm doing my job as a designer if I'm bringing something into your home, especially people with young families, if it is carcinogenic or has toxic materials or has any sort of health implication. That is the main thing that I'm focused on. So that involves executing a lot of in-depth research on what chemicals, what materials, what components, what ingredients are going into everything that is placed into your home so that we're better understanding potential off-gassing and toxins that might be brought into the space and protecting the homeowners, again, those end users of the home. From there, our next highest priority is to ensure that the products and materials that we're sourcing from have a low impact on the people who are making them and people who are affected in the supply chain process. I think this is a big piece that we miss in America when we are so clearly focused on just ordering quick on Amazon, one click order here, and it shows up at your door the next day. And we don't really think about what is actually happening to get that product to you and who's affected in making that product and getting it to you and what that involves. So there are a lot of actual harmful parts of manufacturing processes like azo dye and solvent exposure from dyeing fabrics in textile manufacturing, exposure to VOCs, which are volatile organic compounds in paints, glues, likewise. Formaldehyde is a big thing that we know has detrimental health impacts, and just overall, like ethical labor in manufacturing. So maybe all those things aren't necessarily direct exposures, but they don't have proper ventilation or they don't have access to sunlight. So it's really part of my process to do a lot of in-depth research so that I'm sourcing from suppliers who are committed to not only ethical labor practices, but also have minimized negative health impacts for people who are involved in the supply chain. I've found that oftentimes that when we are protecting both the people at the end user and the people in the supply chain, you often get a healthier product that is going to be more sustainable because it's most likely going to use natural materials and just have a lower negative impact on the earth, which kind of is the next prioritization. So in terms of when do I get sustainability, it is not the number one thing that I'm focused on. It's health. But health of the planet does inherently, I believe, impact health of humans and vice versa. So focusing on us and the people that are affected in the supply chain is really, I think, the first step. And then from there, making sure that we are looking at what impact do the manufacturing processes have on the earth? What are these people doing to maybe do carbon offsetting or have other company-wide initiatives to make their process more seamless? And I think, again, from there, by making all of those conscious choices, you're then setting up our future generations for success.
Thanks for explaining kind of the hierarchy with your priorities in your approach to design, because when we get into these subjects, it can get overwhelming and it's easy for people to throw in the towel because they feel like you can't practically in one step fix everything.
Right.
And so I love that you have an approach that prioritizes. So I'm sure that trickles down to the client experience and making design solutions for them that are actually attainable, which I really appreciate. I want to get more into materials and just your insights on making the home and health for your clients better and safer. But before we do, when you work with a client, when you have projects, what is your hope or your outcome behind working with a client, behind a design, behind being involved in their home? Like, what is an ideal, successful project for you?
Yeah, so I'm really focused on connecting with my clients on a deeper level. And to answer your question, yes, my work is driven by connecting with people deeper on both a personal and spiritual level. This is not going to necessarily appeal to everyone, but I really believe that we are in a place as human society where we are desiring more connection to ourselves, communities, and a higher power more than ever before. So in terms of what a successful project looks like is I really hope to have that connection with people and bring them back to a state of inner peace in their home, one that they might not have even had before or had access to before, but that extends on both the physical, emotional, mental realm, connecting them back with nature and the land that their home is on, and just taking, again, this kind of more holistic approach to life in general and what it means to be safe in your home and in your home environment, which we know is, yes, your home and also your body, your physical vessel. So being able to allow space for that healing as well.
I love that. I would love to get into a little bit about the nitty gritty because I know you are a wealth of knowledge when it comes to interior design, and that leads into materials, also products. What tips do you have for homeowners who want an eco-friendly space? And first, like you said, that priority of better health for the homeowner.
Yeah. So when we're just looking at eco-friendly or just looking at sustainable swaps, my go-to is always look to secondhand first for anything in the home. Furniture, you can find amazing higher quality antiques than you're probably even going to be finding today in terms of product quality and durability. Clothing, that as well. Look for, anything that's ideally made with natural materials, but we have enough clothing on our earth to clothe 6 generations worth of people. So that is a big one for me in terms of just always looking to see what else is out there, what already exists before participating in the consumer demand of needing something new. Another thing that I love to do in terms of like home care is find a local refill shop or buy your like refillable products like shampoo, conditioner, laundry detergent in bulk so that you can either replace that and refill it yourself at home, or like I said, go to support a local refill shop. I've been doing that with my conditioner. It is healthier ingredients. It is cheaper. It like gets me out of the house to do something interesting. And again, bringing back that connection to community. So in terms of just eco-friendly or sustainable swaps, I think starting with those 2 things is going to be absolutely amazing. When it comes to non-toxic swaps in the home or looking at more human health, there is a rabbit hole that we can go down. And I'm sure if you are someone listening to this who's interested in that, you've probably already dipped your toe in that water. But I'll list off a few things that I think are the highest priority. Clothing, again, is the biggest thing for me. It doesn't matter if you're sitting on a perfectly organic, natural linen material sofa, if you're sitting in synthetic underwear, let's just say. You want to control the fabrics and the textiles that are closest to your body, especially with our skin being so porous in nature. It will actually take in any sort of chemical or synthetic material that might be emitting from your fabric. So like if you're not wearing cotton, or things that I do recommend would be cotton, linen, hemp fiber is really great as well. There's new things like mycelium leather that's going to be coming into more of the fashion market. We're seeing it now in bags mostly, but I think it will get to a point of wearables. But if you're someone who wants to dive deeper into that, I highly recommend checking out Alden Wicker's book, To Die For, DYE. She goes in depth about this, and her entire brand, ecocult.com, is solely dedicated to conscious fashion, and healthy healthy resources in terms of where to shop. So highly recommend that. Another thing to eliminate in the home is going to be anything plastic. Single-use plastic is another thing to eliminate for sustainability purposes, but actually on a ingredient level, there can be additives in the plastic that are actually leaking into your food when you heat it up in the microwave, even if it's just like oils or any sort of like liquid that's stored in something in a plastic container. So really something that I recommend people eliminate and switch to glass as much as possible. Skincare, makeup, again, things that are closest to your body. I recommend checking out the Environmental Working Group Skin Deep database. You can type in any hair care, any skincare, any makeup product that you're currently using, and it will give you a toxicity rating of how harmful or what harmful chemicals you might be exposed to in that product. So again, something we do not hear in our like go society here of like the newest beauty standards and things like that, but something that I believe is definitely an area of your home that should be addressed when talking about anything non-toxic. And then again, just like the last thing I'll touch on a high level, you could go into any which one of these things and more in so much more depth, but biggest thing is going to be eliminating Teflon and anything non-stick in your home. So it has been found that PFAS, which are going to be per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, are found in these Teflon or nonstick cookwares. Specifically, it's basically a long chain of compounds on a cellular level that allows you to get that like really reflective like water barrier. So like you think of like anything that's sticky or like water repellent coats. A lot of that traditionally, and of course nonstick cookware has been made with PFAS. And we are now knowing that these things are directly linked to a plethora of health issues: prostate, kidney cancer, other types of cancer, immunotoxicity, thyroid disease, amongst a lot of other things. And this is all just one line of chemicals, not even to bring it back to some of those other things that we talked about like that can lead to endocrine disruption and things like that. If people are interested in learning about PFAS, it's a hard topic. It's a heavy topic. 99% of Americans currently have PFAS in their blood, but I recommend checking out the movie Dark Waters starring Mark Ruffalo. They go in and feature the entire story between environmental litigator Robert Bilott, who has this case against Teflon, and it goes through the whole process, what the environmental impacts kind of were in a more like creative Hollywood way. So those are kind of my high level things. Again, could totally spend an entire episode just diving into one of those.
But I appreciate that what you shared, I am not anywhere close to the knowledge that you have, but what you shared is, I just think it's practical. It's what we've been hearing for a long time. I love the point of thinking about what's closest to your skin or what's on your skin to start with. That is such good common sense.
Mm-hmm.
Switch to glass where you can, get Teflon out of your house. Like those are 3 or 4 steps that could make a huge impact on somebody's health and well-being.
Yes, definitely.
Can we discuss materials in the home? What's a no? What's a substitute or a replacement? And I have a few here: paint, insulation, carpet and flooring, furniture, decor items. What are your thoughts on paint? What goes into your decisions when it comes to paint?
Yeah. So the main issue that you're going to experience with any sort of paint is going to be emissions of volatile organic compounds, VOCs. These vapors, we know, can lead to a variety of different health issues on just a surface level of being eye, nose, throat irritation, headaches, and again, even some are now like relating it to cancers. So you'll often see, like I believe Sherwin-Williams has like a no VOC and Benjamin Moore is low VOC, but those companies still have some amount of that toxicity in there in terms of the VOCs that are going to be emitted into your home. One option that I've recently discovered is called Alchemist paint, ALKEMIS, and they are an all-natural interior mineral-based paint, and they're one of the only cradle-to-cradle certified paints in North America, and they do not have any plasticizers as well. So that means the actual paint finish is 100% water vapor permeable, and that also prevents mold buildup as well. So in terms of paint, I really try to stay away from anything with plasticizers in addition to any amount of VOCs.
Amazing. What are your thoughts on insulation?
So I'm learning a lot about insulation right now. From my understanding, there's a lot more that goes into the insulation conversation when you're talking more about the entire building envelope. So when we think of insulation, we might think of like our thermal control layer of like where people will throw in fiberglass or maybe even like wool or things like that. But there are other ways to do it on a larger scale level. If you're, let's say, building from the ground up, where you'd actually want to use an exterior rigid insulation board as your thermal control layer, paired with an interior control layer of a smart vapor permeable membrane on the inside face. With that, you'll have to add in studs acting as a service cavity, so you have somewhere to mount drywall as your interior face, so you're not drilling directly into your barrier. But from my understanding, those are going to be the healthiest options. Foam board insulation is also highly recyclable, so it's something that can be renewed at the end of its life, which is great for circularity. And for your smart vapor permeable membrane, Intello Plus is one that I've seen before used, and that one meets all of Declare Label's red list free. So I think those are the ones that I would probably recommend. That being said, spray foam is one that I would really directly try to avoid. Spray foam is going to act as both your thermal and your air control layer. So that's why people might use it, is to kind of get that all done in one. However, it is very difficult to puncture through that material after it's been sprayed. It has to be done absolutely perfectly, like to certain specifications that I'm sure builders would be able to speak on a lot more, without it having severe off-gassing in your home as a potential. And it also has the possibility of hiding leaks. So if you are spraying this all on top and you have your wiring and some pipes and mechanical systems behind this insulation, and you don't have any way to get to it safely, there could be leaks that are hiding behind there, adding to more mold potential in your home.
Super thoughtful. What about carpet and flooring?
Yeah. So in terms, again, of like human health as the first thought, anything with wood is going to be your best bet. Solid wood is going to be the most renewable and durable. And you'll often find there are very few additives, even some that come with stains pre-cured on, so you don't even have to do that in your home itself. Some of the brands that I recommend are Mafi and Scheuscher, that are European-based brands, so you do have that kind of environmental impact of shipping from overseas. So those are some ones that I know that specifically for wood, solid wood, and I believe they have engineered hardwood as well, are good ones to start with. And then we also have one here in Colorado, Aragani Woods, who also, like the other two, source their wood from Austria, but they are very focused on reclaimed sources and just overall have a sustainability and kind of that health impact in mind. At a higher level too, engineered wood, from my understanding, especially in places where our climate shifts a lot, like here in Colorado, we would recommend engineered wood typically, just so that it can withstand all of the climate changes, humidity changes, things like that throughout the year. It is going to be a little bit more structurally sound than wood as well. You just have to make sure that anything that would be added to the flooring does not have formaldehyde or anything that might off-gas into your home. So that's another one that I'll recommend. Bamboo is an interesting one because we think, oh, bamboo is it grows so fast and it's really sustainable, but it's not necessarily the healthiest option or the most sustainable option, mainly because you might be shipping in bamboo from far across the world, and also to make it a durable and performance ready material, you have to add in a lot of chemicals that could potentially lead to off-gassing. So that one is something that is like a do more research, element, I would say. And the last kind of flooring, before I get into carpet, but like the last kind of other material that you might use would be like tile specifically. My understanding is that tiles that are made in the US, Canada, and Europe often have some level of stricter health regulations than if you are seeing it manufactured in other areas of the world. So just looking at kind of what goes into that as well. This is one that I think is really can be a harmful process in the actual supply chain manufacturing of it, whereas it might be fully cured or you might not experience as much off-gassing in the end product, but definitely not a great health impact in terms of making those products. One place that I want to feature for tiles is Particular Tile. They're just doing amazing work here in Colorado. They are sourcing 100% of their clay from a local reservoir here that's currently losing water storage due to sedimentation. So all of the mud that's removed from that reservoir is turned into clay that they're literally making into tiles, which I just think is such an amazing process. As local as you can get, like truly, especially here for people and designers and people in the built environment here in Colorado, they're such a great resource. And they're also taking that a step further and they're planning to have a methane capture facility so that from a local mine that is emitting basically climate pollution more than 100,000 passenger vehicles, they're going to take that methane gas and use it as fuel to power their facility. So such amazing story in terms of like success in sustainability. I really love their product and their material and just how local it is here. The last one you asked about was carpet. So carpet is not really a healthy building material, and I wouldn't recommend using it. The main reasons are because you will see a lot of synthetic fibers and other additives like flame retardants being added to the actual carpet in the manufacturing process. So as well as the padding that it needs to be laid below that can continue to off-gas into your space for years and years to come. Not to mention also just the actual carpet itself, trapping toxins, mold spores, any sort of dust and things like that in it, which actually ends up damaging your indoor air quality. So I don't recommend really carpet anywhere. If you had to or like wanted to incorporate rugs or other things like that, I would definitely recommend finding options that are natural based materials. Like wool is a really great option for rugs specifically or carpets if you are going in that direction. And then also to clean it very regularly with a HEPA vacuum cleaner, where that is actually going to get down to the level of removing up to 99% of airborne particles. So yeah, those are kind of my high level responses in terms of actual materials or finishes that you might be using in your home. When it comes to furniture and decor, again, I go back to secondhand as such an amazing place to start. Even if you're sourcing, let's say, chairs or furniture pieces that have a really sturdy and structural frame, you can take that to a local maker who can help to reupholster that item for you and extend the life of that product now into more generations to come and preventing it from heading into the landfill. So secondhand is really a great place to start. The second place would be to find local craftspeople and makers as well. So there's a few companies out here that just specialize in making like custom chairs, custom tables, and that might increase the cost because it is locally made, but you're oftentimes getting much more durable material that's actually going to last a lot longer than the things that you might buy at the retailers of the world. And I think that one is just a big thing also to reconnect with your community, support local businesses, and just admire like the artisan and craftsmanship that like goes into making pieces like that. Like I think there's just a different connection that you have to your furniture when you're working with, local makers. From purchasing from large wholesalers or retailers, I would really recommend doing research on certifications and what they are doing to be more sustainable and more healthy in their processes. For upholstered items or, textiles in general, OEKO-TEX 100 is a great, bare minimum kind of they test for a bunch of different chemicals to make sure it is safe for human standards. So that's just the actual fabric itself. And things like foam inside of, let's say, an upholstered piece, they're now creating bio-based materials that are replacing the synthetics that have been previously used. So we're definitely seeing it move towards that in terms of the industry in general. But I think it just really is again, could totally spend a whole podcast just diving into that alone of do some research, find out some certifications, look at where they're ranking on your databases, where, if they have declare labels, again, if they have OQO-Tex for upholstered items, cradle to cradle, there are so many things out there right now, but focusing on ones that are going to call out health impacts are the ones that I like to focus on. And then decor is your last question. With that, I really design quite minimally in terms of my style. I don't like having a lot of clutter in my space. And I believe, just from a philosophical perspective, that clutter does not really add much. Sure, there's a whole, trend of maximalism and going more is more and everything is just a lot. And I think that sure, that can exist for a lot of people, but in terms of biophilic design, my emphasis is to always draw the attention back outside, whether it's through a large window or through natural light openings throughout the entire home, which could be many different things, including skylights, but not limited to just that. And for me, decor should be something that makes you want to, it adds to the ambiance of the space, but it doesn't take away from where you are in the proximity of nature. I really have goals to just solely work on mountain projects or really homes that are very, very immersed in nature, because I just feel like the design style that I have is very minimal inside to bring the attention more outside. And again, secondhand items, if you are someone who wants to go and collect and thrift, and supporting local artists. I really never order any sort of print from online, even from places like Etsy. If it's a print, I will not order it. There are so many amazing local artists in your community that are, one, needing support, in terms of their business and their development in their career, and also just adds so much more life and story and conversation to your home to have a piece that is unique to your home. And it's just something that I'm very passionate about supporting, local artists as well.
Amazing. This is amazing. I'm so impressed by your knowledge. I also wanted to ask, you brought so many resources to the conversation, websites to check out, brands that you recommend. Would you be able to share those with us so we can put them in the show notes for listeners that want to dive more into what you recommended?
Absolutely. Yes, for sure.
Amazing. This conversation is so inspirational. I think my biggest takeaway is that if someone needs help with this, or they need to work with someone that they can trust, that is going to be an ally when it comes to their health, you would be such an incredible resource to have on the team to complement the general contractor and whoever else is involved in a remodel or a new build. So amazing that Denver has you as this resource for them. If people would like to reach out to you and connect, where can they find you?
Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate all those kind words as well. You can find me at HaleyMatchett.com. That's HaleyMatchette.com. And that is my name. And you can find me on all social media platforms with that handle as well, at Haley Matchett. I have not been really into the social media marketing so far, and it's something that is on my plate. So I really am excited to share more resources there. And that's a great place to follow along as I continue and start to really ramp up more support and resources and content online.
Amazing. Haley Matchett Design, Homes That Heal. Thank you so much for the conversation.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, Jade.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Nailed It, business tips from industry leaders, brought to you by Clever Punch. Nailed It is all about connecting with people, building relationships, and helping each other. If you're interested in connecting with any of the guests on our episodes, you can find their contact info in our show notes or on the podcast page at cleverpunchco.com. You can also email info@cleverpunchco.com with any questions or feedback. I'm your host, Jade Flogerzi. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.